Phil.
I'm Milton.
I'm Raz.
I'm gonna bust his ass.
I'm Shane.
I'm Brandon.
And he can kiss my dick.
Hello, this is Tom.
I'm John.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
This is Dirty Sliders Podcast. If it ain't fun, fast, and dirty, we don't want to hear about it.
Giggity.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Dirty Sliders Podcast. Week number, what is this, 12, I think?
Episode 11.
11, okay, I'm a little premature like normal, right? So, we got a list of stuff to cover today. We do have a guest on the show. We'll get to him here shortly. But I think first up we have Raz.
All right, so going back to the last podcast episode, we announced that Ty Wolfgang was going to be leaving the Brad Sweet team. He was car chief last year on Brad Sweet, was leaving to be crew chief for another team. Literally right after we got done recording that podcast, he announced he was staying with Brad Sweet. The big news kind of is that he is becoming a crew chief. He's going to crew chief for Brad Sweet, so it's all new team. Like literally every member of the Brad Sweet team is going to be new. He will have his old crew chief to rely on because he's kind of going to a director competition kind of role. So I think Ty Wolfgang's got a big opportunity in front of him, and hopefully he can make the best of it. But that's correcting our mistake from last one. So with that, let's go right into our guest. Welcome in, Steven.
Hey, thanks for having
Mr.
me.
Leucht?
What's going on?
Yeah, nice to have you.
So you probably
Thank you,
start
John.
with how the hell do you say your last name?
Leucht.
Leucht.
L-O-O.
So the C
We
is
weren't far
silent.
off. We're close
You got
enough.
to do it phonetically or whatever the
We're
fuck.
close enough for this podcast.
So is it like Gooch, but with an L?
Sure, if that's how you want to make it make sense, that's it.
So, hey, I got a question. How do you get 5 in a row to end the season, bro?
It should have been a lot more. It's by sucking pretty hard in the beginning of the year and then just making it work at the end of the season, I guess.
So give everybody out there like a little bio of you. Tell us who you are and how you got into racing and stuff.
Well, my name's Steven Leucht, 29 years old. I live in Chula Vista, San Diego, California, and I'm a third-generation race car driver. Been racing last 5 or 6 years in the big cars. I started off racing motocross and mini dwarfs and things like that when I was younger. Took a little break after that and raced some pure stock stuff. Started racing sport mods and been doing that the last few years. So guess here we are.
So you went from pure stocks to sports also, yeah?
What's that?
So you went from pure stock straight to mods too?
Yes, sir.
What do you think? What's the biggest difference between them that you feel in the car? What's the biggest thing they have to change as a driver?
I'd say the sport mods feel a lot more like a race car. Like they work a lot better. The pure stocks are very difficult to drive. So making them go fast is that, I'm not going to say that much harder, but they take a special set of skills, just like anything else, I guess. But the sport mod racing is a little more fine-tuned, I'd say. Pure stocks, you kind of get what you get, and sport mods, you're able to maybe help yourself out and do a little bit better if you're able to keep it up.
So what's the biggest thing you had to change about your driving style, going from a mini dwarf to a pure stock to sport mod?
Biggest thing I would change?
Biggest thing you have changed? What did it take to make that transition?
In your driving style, your aggressiveness, your corner entry, what?
Being willing to drive the car harder, I guess, is definitely something that's there. But I mean, really, car control is the hardest thing I'd say with the sport mods. They're willing to get a lot more out of shape, a lot faster. You're going faster. Things are a little more fine tuned, I would say.
In a short amount of time, you switched chassis. I know you kind of wrecked the last one, and you got a new chassis. Is there a difference between chassis builders on how the car handles, or is it all the same?
So in the last, what would it be, 5 race weekends that we've had, I guess we'll say 6. The last race with my previous Harris chassis, which was like a 2019. It was a little bit older, but I really liked that car, and I had a full season on that thing, and we had it working pretty good. I mean, I kept learning more and more about the car, and it was working well, and then went and tore that up, but went over to Christopher's Edge car, and the first couple weekends in that were pretty tough. That was during the summer shootout out there for the 2-day show. Those weekends were kind of tough. It was kind of a learning experience. It was much different than my previous Harris chassis was, but our first normal race weekend with that, I ended up winning with it. Followed by the next 2 races with that car, and I feel like I got it figured out pretty well. Then we got this new chassis, and the new chassis is much different than either of those other 2. So every one of them's kind of been different to me. You kind of got to learn what each one wants, and heck, I'm still learning that with the new car. So
What is the new chassis?
that's a 2024 Harris. It is brand new. It's got 56 laps on the car. No practice sessions.
But who's counting?
Me. I'm counting.
So I ran a Harris chassis way back in the Wayback Machine, probably before you were born, and they had the reputation in the field of being a very stable platform. They weren't going to be a radical on the edge, really hike up the left front kind of drive, but you knew what it was going to do. It was pretty solid. Is that still the case with the 2024 Harris?
I would say there's a reason that we got that chassis from them, and I really like their program. They've been around for a really long time, but they also have a lot of information and R&D going into those cars. This new car does stuff that I've never had a car do before. Not saying it's going to be carrying the left front around the racetrack, but it's definitely hiked up and on dig. So I like that about them. I'm still kind of figuring out this new car, but it's definitely faster than me, I would say, right now.
So Kyle Brown owns Harris now, right? He bought it from
Yes, sir.
Bob Harris, right? Now Bob Harris has BHE Enterprise or whatnot. Is Kyle directly involved, or is it just somebody at the shop that handles business?
I talk directly to Kyle quite often, actually. All the guys there at the shop are real good. I can talk to any of them. A lot of the setup stuff will go to Kyle or maybe Chris, but they're always available, which is a nice thing. Some chassis builders are hard to get a hold of or ask questions to, and these guys are able to help me out a lot. So that's one of the reasons why we're with them as opposed to someone else.
Another perk is if you go to Super Nationals, there's shops right down the street.
Yeah, that like damn near across the street. It's real nice. We went up there
Being from Iowa, I know.
ago.
Yeah.
We went up there a few months ago to pick up this new chassis and went and checked out Boone. They weren't racing or nothing, but I was in the parking lot there looking out at the racetrack, and we're gonna get out there one day. Hope, uh, hopefully sometime soon. But I want to go race that race.
Whenever you're ready, let me know. I'll be your crew guy. I've got some places we can stay and everything.
Sounds like a plan, man. That's
do you have
cool.
any changes planned for next season? You know, changing. You have any changes planned for next season? You know, anything power plant wise, shock wise, anything like that?
We're flirting with the idea of maybe trying out an open motor, but I think we've been running a crate this whole time. I don't know that I really feel like I need it, being that most of the cars we're racing against, say at Barona, are open motors. But I really just need to work on. I think I need to work on my driving more than anything. Jumping around from car to car these last few months has been kind of hard to get settled in. So I want to work on that. Getting comfortable.
Well, we touched on it a little bit earlier, and I don't want to, gloss over it. You won 5 of the last 5 races at Barona. Obviously you're working out of the Evans stable. With a lot of help from Chris and Eric. I'm sure Rick, when he was still alive, was helping you out too. So let's give that accomplishment what it's proper due. That's 5 in a row at any track is a big accomplishment.
Yeah, I've got
Yes, it is.
I've got a lot of really good support around me, and that definitely is a big attribute to what's been going on. We're getting ready to go to Vegas and Winter Nationals and things like that here this winter. So we'll see what we got against some of these bigger guys. But I'm looking forward to it. We did the Winter Nationals last year, and it wasn't all bad. And I feel like we've got a lot better program and race car right now than we did before. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I also want to acknowledge, the Eric Evans, one of the biggest guys in your corner, who's a legend at Barona. If I'm not mistaken, he's won in every single class there is out there except Mini Dwarf.
Damn close to it, if not all of them, yeah.
Who else to sponsor you there, Steven? Who else is behind your program getting you down the road?
So I drive the car for my car owner, Mike Atkinson with Mar Motorsports. I mean, obviously Sam's Alignment. That's where we are right now. Got Full Circle Realty on board with us. The Study Lounge, he's a big help with everything we got going on. Critical Hit Baits. We got quite a few, but always looking for more. So I mean, trying to put the results out there to make that stuff look good and try to keep a good looking race car. I don't know.
How can people get a hold of you if they want to sponsor your program or get some information about your program?
Well, we got a racing page on Facebook and Instagram, Steven Leucht Racing. That would probably be the easiest, most accessible way for people to find us. All the time at the racetrack. If we're
you
there,
might want to spell that last.
Leucht.
Might want to spell that last
I
name.
spell that
out there
last
for
name
the,
with
for
a
the
silent
public.
letter.
One more time.
Does that work?
Leucht.
For the bright ones in the class, that one works. He held his hat up to the screen so he can read it.
So, anything else?
Yeah, I mean,
We'll plug him on the socials.
Anything else? What?
So we're gonna. Anything else you need to hit or talk about your racing program, life in general? Who you rooting for in the World Series?
Not the Dodgers.
Not the Dodgers. That sucks. I mean, bad situation to be in, but I don't like those guys. So,
Hey, if you're going to beat my team and then you win the series, I can't hate you too much, but...
true.
Well,
True that.
For those that don't know, I'm a diehard Dodger fan.
Looks like
It's all right.
game's
We all
going
can't
the
be
right way
perfect.
as of now.
You're right. It's going the right way to get him back to L.A. to close it out at home.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right. We're gonna move on with this. You're welcome to hang out with us, Steven. If you have an opinion on anything we're bringing up, by all means, bring it up.
Hey, I appreciate
We're
it. Like I said, thank you guys for having me on, and it's been cool.
Round of applause for our first guest. He didn't totally suck.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
glad to do it.
Don't worry, he's not done yet. I got something.
He set the bar low, though, so...
I'll be here. So.
All right, so last episode we talked a little bit about traction control and dirt racing, and some of the things that were going on. Like I said, I'm not original. I don't come up with these ideas. I got it off another podcast, and it was being brought up because of the next thing we're about to talk about. John, tell us about this controversy going on in Australia over traction control and detecting of traction control.
Right. So, traction control obviously is a big topic in sprint car racing, all racing really, but this has to do specifically with sprint car racing. So, the sprint car control of Australia, they have come up with a traction control detector. Now, how it works, how it works and such is still kind of up in the air. But on the first night of racing, 4 points at Perth Motorplex, they decided to randomly install this on 4 cars. Now, these people obviously weren't told. They said they went to hot laps and qualifying, and afterwards, the stewards said, "You're going to have this put on your car." They said, "Okay, whatever. It's just supposed to detect." Well, when they got out and were running their heats, apparently they all felt that it took about 800 to 1,000 RPMs out of their engine. They all said it felt just not crisp and like it was laggy. Most of them actually immediately thought, "Hey, it's the only thing that's different is this device they put on." One James Ingalls actually tore his engine apart after hot laps and such when he had to put on his car. Didn't even really think about that device. He said, "Something's wrong with the engine. We got to tear it apart." From his words on the video they made, tore it to 1,000 pieces. Had other drivers trying to help him get it back together. Finally got it back together, and it still just didn't feel right to him. So he's like, after the race, talked to some other drivers, and they said, "Hey, the only difference is that piece they put on our car." So Caleb Williamson was one of the guys that had it on, and James Ingalls, like I said, immediately Caleb Williamson said, "It's this device. That's the only other thing that we've changed. The motor was excellent until we put that device on." In fact, in the feature that night, Chris Coyle, the number 79 down there, pulled in after 8 laps into the feature when they had a caution and actually told them, "Take this thing off my car." Now, apparently the next lap, according to Caleb's crew chief, Coyle went from 15th to 12th in 1 lap just by taking that off his car. So it obviously did something. They don't know exactly what yet. Inglis said that his motor ran hot. They pulled the plugs out, and there was a lot of aluminum, like in the plugs and on the plugs when they pulled it out. Also, when they tore it down after the races, the exhaust valves clearly showed that it was running hot. They didn't fail, but had signs of a hot engine. So after this and all the controversy that has come up, the Sprint Car Control Association, I can share this real quick, actually put out that they took let's see if I get the right one. That's not it. It's that one. So they actually put out this statement as of the 25th, which is, Friday, after their races. And it goes over a lot. The gist of it is we tested these under racing conditions. We've been testing them for years. All the tests that they did were 100% accurate. It says right there. Said multiple cars, multiple engines, multiple ignition setups. They didn't find any adverse conditions from having this on. What the first thing that the video said, it's from Sprint Car Hub, is where I'm getting the video. He said, well, how many is multiple cars? How many laps did you do? Blah, blah, blah. The biggest thing is that it said over here on the second page, it says no effect on the crank trigger, but when they plugged it into a magneto, that's when they noticed the difference. That it took some of the power out of the motor's power curve. Like I say, it took probably 800 to 1,000 RPMs, everybody's saying. They say they usually run 88 to 9,000 RPMs, and they couldn't get over 8,200 for anything. So that's essentially what it did. It does say, I'll share this again real quick, but it does say if you put it on a magneto, that it ended up being a half degree retarded. So right here, so on a magneto, it came to about a half degree retarded box when connected to the magneto. So it took a little bit out, it seems like. Like I say, they haven't shared any of the actual testing results they have. They haven't shared numbers. So that's kind of the thing where everyone's like, what's going on? We don't know, because you haven't done it in a dyno. You haven't had a large amount of cars test it in different tracks, different type of conditions. So there's a lot going on with that.
I think they need to go back to the damn drawing board.
Right.
Well, there's a little bit of controversy in this, in that if it retarded your engine, did that mean you were running traction control? That's, some people are saying that. I do know this. I forget who his name was, but they had one of those boxes plugged into his ignition. He goes out for the feature. It's running like crap. He pulls in the hot pit. They unplug it, send him back out, and the thing ran fine.
Yeah, that was Chris Coyle or Cody Coyle. Yeah, they ran fine after they unplugged it. So there's obviously something there. The original thought was the longer wiring loom was taking some power out, but who is it? Ken McNamara of KRE Engines actually tested it and said, no, the wire loom is not the problem.
So the question then becomes, and I really want to hear what you guys have to think about this. Where does the sanctioning body come in as far as liability? Do they owe these guys some engines? Because there was 2 or 3 damaged engines as a result of it.
Yeah,
you forced me to put it on my motor, you're liable. I'm not your guinea pig. My checking account ain't your guinea pig.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that they talked about is it wasn't an SCCA sanction, but a SGE is another sanctioning body for sprint cars down there, and they're regarded as one of the best sanctioning bodies in Australia. And in their rule book, it actually says no recording or logging devices of any kind. And essentially, that's what they're putting on these cars, is a recording or logging device. So there's a lot of controversy on many levels for this.
Yeah, but if I'm the sanctioning body and I decide to put a logging device on there, the rules don't matter. The rules are for the racer, not for the sanctioning body. I mean, I get what they're trying to do, but if you grenade somebody's motor, I think you need to step up and take care of them. And then the next question then becomes is how much leeway do you give the sanctioning body as far as trying to enforce the rules and catch cheating? And is the simple solution just say, well, screw it, allow traction control, make it legal?
Well, it seems like they need to get their own test motors and try it on their own stuff first before blowing, competitors' motors up, because we all know that can get a lot pricey quickly.
Yeah.
Well, and they're
from what.
Go ahead, John.
From what I was seeing on the video, and talking to the drivers and Caleb's crew chief, is they haven't put out a data set of, hey, we tested it on 40 cars on, wet track, dry track, middle track, heat conditions. It seems like the testing was very narrow and not a large enough set to get real good data on what this does under different conditions. And they just threw it on under race conditions, which are different than testing.
Well, and the wording of their press release is very suspect. The wording of the sanctioning body's press release said we tested this on multiple ignitions, both crank trigger and magneto style, and it was without fault. Okay, you can run an ignition system without it being on a motor. There's machines that spin ignition systems and will give you a graph of what the spark curve looks like and all that. And I kind of think that might have been what they did. It didn't go on a motor; it went on a testing device, and they went, "Oh yeah, it looks great. Let's put it on a motor now."
Yeah, and that's what these guys want to do, is they want to see data from a dyno test. So, like I say, the engine with this device on it, and see what it actually does.
Yeah. Well, they clearly rolled it out sooner than they should have, without a doubt.
Yeah.
To get back to your original question, Raz, I think they should step up. I mean, good on them for trying to detect it and trying to solve a problem that is within the dirt racing realm. However, it was a bluff. It was a bust. They need to own it, pay for it, and then step back and try to figure it out again.
Well, and I know a little bit about a thing or two about engines. I can tell you exactly how this damage occurred. They burnt exhaust valves. Well, they burnt exhaust valves because the ignition went too retarded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple.
Yeah. I think they said a half a degree. I think they meant 5 degrees.
Well,
yeah, half degree would
they
not burn exhaust valve.
No.
So, and to put it out in the first points-paying race of their season, these guys are like, well, do we just say points don't count for this race because 4 guys had their engines messed up and weren't racing at top, optimum conditions? Maybe they should have had an exhibition race or 2, like practice. Like, hey, let's throw it on in an exhibition and see what these guys say afterwards.
Well, and if you don't already know, sprint car racing in Australia is huge.
Huge.
Big deal.
Yeah, a couple of them boys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why our guys go down there to race, in the wintertime, because it's so you keep the skills sharp.
Mm-hmm.
That brings us to Justin
Speaking
Peck.
on that, there's a reason why High Limit put a race on down there.
Yeah. We were speculating last episode why Justin Peck didn't have a ride, because allegedly he was the guy rolling with money in his pocket, available to race. So he picked up a ride with Rudine Racing, which is a really good team, and they're expecting big things from him in High Limit next year.
You got the money, you got the equipment. Well, you got the money, you got the equipment. Let's see what we can do with it now.
Yeah. I think Justin will do. He's one of my favorite drivers because he puts it out there that he's dealing with bipolar and PTSD. He's a big advocate for that. He doesn't try to hide it. He doesn't he's not ashamed of it. He puts it right out there that that's one of the struggles he deals with. And I'm not a mental health professional, but I think that's got to make your race car driving just that much harder.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we all have our struggles, though, at the same time. Whether you see them or not. I mean, I'm sure all of us in this group have struggled with something, probably recently.
Yeah, but I think when a guy who's a marquee racer like that, puts it out there in the open, I think that can might encourage somebody else. Well, okay, this guy's dealing with it, and he seems to have his shit together a little bit. Maybe I can get my shit together a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely, I can see that.
So speaking of getting your shit together,
don't look this way.
Soper, how'd your race weekend go this weekend?
All right, so I had a pretty good weekend. So last time I did a race recap, we talked about
microwave.
Me and no, you did not come up and put a microwave in my car. But speaking of that,
no, you got caught it.
Who I think we all might know, came up to me in the pits and asked me if 1,000 watt or 1,200 watt was better. Last time I was on here, I did a race recap. I talked about how I was beating myself up over track being dry slick and overdriving the car and not recognizing in my brain to slow the damn car down to drive the track. And we ran topless this last weekend. So that was another first for me this year. Went out in the hot laps. The track was pretty heavy, so I was happy about that. A heavy track typically means that it's going to get pretty fast in the mains. We got for the heat race, and the track was still a little heavy. The car was probably a little bit too tight for what we had in the heat race, but I ran third, and I knew that the track would still stuck off a little more, so I left the car as it was, but swapped from a 3-off right rear to a 4-off right rear for the main. And when we went out for the main, it was black ice. So I got my chance to drive another slick track, and everything that I was telling myself to do, I tried my best to do it, and we started 6th and finished 2nd behind Steven Leucht here. Now,
nice.
This is where I have a little bit
not
of
a bad place to finish.
Okay. I come around turns 3 and 4, and old Steven Leucht is sitting backwards at the top of 4, and I was like, damn, that sucks. But I knew on the radio they were saying 14 fire, go to the fire trucks. So 47 Steven was running first, the 14 of Jake Triska was running second, I believe the 22 was running third, and then I was 4th at the time. So that would have put, with 14 having to go to the fire truck in the hot pits and the 47 spinning his ass off, I was like, damn, that puts me second, should put me second behind the 22. And I was feeling good. Well, we were getting ready to come around for the green flag, and then all of a sudden, I hear 47 to the lead, 47 to the lead. And I said, God damn it. So what happened is they were throwing the red flag for the fire on the 14 car. The fire that the 14 car had, I believe, was something to do with either brake fluid or maybe some fuel spilt. I'm not really sure, but it's his right rear was on fire.
Something flammable.
Yeah, it was on fire. So they were throwing the red flag for Jake Triska when Steven spun. So the caution was for the fire, not for Steven spinning. So Steven got his spot back.
I call favoritism.
22. And we do.
Yeah, favoritism. For sure. I agree. Well, I had also read the last preview that is just something that I will add into all of this.
It is true. He passed the 14
on the outside the lap before.
Well, 3 or 4 times he passed the 14 on the outside on 3 and 4 and beat him back to the flag, but then he ran the high side of 1 and 2, and the 14 would get him back going down the backstretch. So finally, he took the lead coming off of 4 and coming down into 1. He put the car on the bottom, and it caused the 14 to have to check up. And when the 14 checked up and stepped on the brakes, that's when the fire happened. Hence, throwing the red flag. They go back down to 3 and 4, and he fucking looped it.
So he started it all. So, the red flag was because of him, so he goes to the back.
Yeah. I mean, if the 14 wouldn't have had to jam the brake,
you still go to the rear.
he might not have
Favoritism.
But
I think I seen a Facebook post about that.
There was something for like a couple hours, and then it was gone. I don't know.
You paid them off.
Y'all gonna get slapped around again.
But
For what?
Yeah.
so they put the
That's what you said
47
last
back.
time.
We do Delaware double file restarts, and I start on the outside of the 22. We take the green flag. 22's got me through 1 and 2, but coming off of 2, I'm on the high side and I get a run, and I get him going down the back stretch, and I clear him coming off of 3 and 4. And then from there, it was just trying to chase Steven down. And I struggled, and I think a lot of people do. I'm not the only one, but I struggle really hard on 1 and 2 at Barona. And 3 and 4, you can run mid to high in 3 and 4, and you can just walk the dog with the car. It is fast. But down in 1 and 2, it gets tricky. You got to be on the berm on the bottom, or you got to be lucky and there be a topside, which is 1 out of every 5 races. I think that the topside comes in on 1 and 2, maybe. So I kept trying to get down to the bottom, and I kept missing it just a little bit and sliding through the black. And like I said, it was ice. But I did end up finishing second. I put together not fast laps, but I put together consistent laps. So that I feel happy on 2 ends. One is I was starting to get consistent, and 2, I drove a slick track, and I actually drove a slick track. I didn't get kicked off for spinning out. So
you did it well. Also, when you did it well.
So, all in all, 8 races on this new car. What was that?
Second in the feature, that's personal best for you, right?
Well, so it's 8 races in the car. It's my 3rd second place finish. So,
so tied for your personal best.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, tied for the best finish. But it's for only 8 races, jumping from a pure stock into a sport mod and then running 8 races and finishing second 3 times in 8 races. I feel good about that. I'm upset and I'm bummed. The season's over. That was our final race of the year. By the way, shout out for the trunk or treat. That was massive. Most amount of kids I think I've seen come out to the track by far. But bummed out. The racing season's over. We're looking forward to the turkey shootout. I got to give a shout out to Ed Drulard from Ed D Hauling. He stepped up and purchased a rear gear for me in the sport mod. We're going to get that put in the car. We'll be out there in Central Arizona for the turkey shootout on the weekend of Thanksgiving. And then we'll be back out of Central Arizona for Winter Nationals. And I think Steven's going to make the same trips.
Yes, sir. Should be a fun time.
Nice.
So I'll ask you the same question. Any changes upcoming for your program for next season?
Nothing big with the car. Sticking with the same motor. I have the ability. So down here in San Diego, there's Brian's Racing Enterprises. A guy named Travis runs that joint. Really good guy. He's he wants to set me up on a set of Penske shocks. Right now I'm running Integras, and I told him flat out, like, look, hey, I don't have $4,000, $5,000, whatever it is, to dump on a brand new shock package. But he's talking about working with me and building probably a used set of Penske's, and then we'll work our way forward on how to make that deal work. But he wants to put me on a set of Penske's. He wants me to go racing because he wants me to feel the difference.
Nice.
Cool.
So other than that, we are going to do a new wrap for next year. My plan is to debut it at Winter Nationals. There are spots open on the car for sponsorship. I made a Facebook post. It's kind of my first time doing it. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm just trying to do something.
All right, then what about your socials? How can people get a hold of you?
I have an Instagram and a Facebook. Both are Soper Racing 64. Last name is SOPER Racing 64.
All right, and I apologize. I skipped somebody's Barona recap. Brendan, you want to tell us what your last race weekend was like?
Well, you didn't really skip me because we're still here, right? So everything's all good because I don't think we had Thomas in the lineup, so that's okay. Well, let's see. We started based off points, so I started second row inside of my heat race behind Christopher Evans. Ran third most of that one, trying to get around the 24 car Mike Wolf. I just couldn't do it cleanly, so I just kind of hung out in third, which was all right. Started 10th in the main event. Was kind of all over on that one. We were making headway. The caution would come out. We'd get stuck in a battle with Chris Wilder in the 00. And Cody Parento got in there, and that was what they would call a shit sandwich. That car looked like it was coming out of a dog pile. Fenders hanging off of it, hood tacoed up, so you know what kind of racing we had with that one. But overall, after 20 laps, we finished up 8th, right there with Christopher in the 9 car. Give a shout out to Tim Spencer. He came out. I know his nephew sponsored one of our podcasts. He came out seeing us, hanging out with us. Yeah, so there's that. The races recap. 3rd in the heat race and 8th in the main event. Nothing too exciting. The track was probably the most technical we've had to race on at a pure stock all season. It was kind of a tricky one to get around. There was like a big rut at the bottom of 3 and 4. If you hit that, it'd send you up the track. So you kind of had to run the high side, but if you lifted off the throttle too far, you kind of got way out of shape, so you kind of had to stay in the gas and ride a lot of the brakes to get it around the corner. But we managed to stay clean for the most part and finished 8th.
Would that put you
That
for the
pure
season?
stock race was exciting.
Yeah, Brandon, what'd that put you for the season?
I'm sure 1 or 2 right behind you there, Bridger. Thanks to the old tech crew for giving me that DQ on some shocks I won on last year. You know, that kind of kills the vibe a little bit. The Evans crew knows about the shock DQs also, I think. Wink, wink.
Oh man. Well, that was last season, bro.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The race I got the win on was on the same shocks I got DQ'd on this year.
Yeah,
So
I don't
was
know.
what I was like, how does that work?
That
I
was
don't know
last
how
year.
it
This
works.
is
I
this year.
guess I'll
Same
just be
different
quiet
stuff.
on that whole situation.
And that was last week. Don't worry about next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't bring up old shit.
Right. But no, it was a good season. Shout out to the Salazars for giving us a spot to race. Yeah.
Any changes planned for your program for next season?
I don't know, we've been talking to John Tuttle, JT Motorsports and Fabrication, about coming up with a couple of different ideas. Not much changing going on. Kind of actually scaling down a little bit, I think. This year kind of took a lot out of us, so we're just kind of not necessarily in a big push to get a bunch going. More so, next year might just be a hit and miss just to see what the vibe is. Because, like I said, this year kind of took a lot out of us, so we're not necessarily planning anything big just yet. We're just kind of hanging out and seeing how the off season goes.
So you're saying JT needs his own car?
That guy's already got
Yep,
one. We
yep.
just got to get it put
That's
together.
part of his off season.
Well, get up there and help the man.
Well, we're going to go up there. You know, the motor's going to come out, go to Mike Pridgeon, get redone.
And
but
Mike's about to be busy.
Mike's about to be real busy.
Speaking of, I need to call him.
All right, John, let's hear about your race weekend.
Oh, my race weekend. Let's see. Heat race was good. I was running third. Had the old 00 car that didn't realize that there is 50 or 60 feet of track to the outside of that inside lane. So they kept tapping my bumper. Finally, coming out of 2, hit me hard enough I couldn't recover, got around. Had the caution called on me, so I was out of the heat. So, had to run the B main. Survived that. There was a lot of crashes and spins because it's the B main, but made it through 7th place in that B main, which put me starting at 19th out of 20 in the main. Main was going well. I made my way up to 13th, 12th, 13th place. Coming to one of our final restarts, actually the final restart, single file, coming out of turn 4. The car just decided to die on me. Coasted my way into the hot pits, watched Edward Finger take everybody to school for the last 2 laps, and then, as always, the car started up and made it back to the trailer. Actually, died one time on the way to the trailer. So, haven't diagnosed exactly what that's from. But, again, shout out to JT Motorsports, John Tuttle from there. He kept us going all year. Haven't diagnosed the car problem because on yesterday, he got 700 square feet of new concrete poured out in front of his pole barn to put more race cars on next year in this winter to get ready to go. So we'll see what happened and move forward from there. Go the off season.
So I don't know what happened to your car, but I do know how to fix it, and I know that Neilton will agree with me. Since it's the off season, rip every inch of wire out of that car, take every switch in there, throw it away, get it all new for next year and done right.
Yeah. And that was the first thing Brandon said too, is that's a loose wire kind of thing.
Gut it and start over.
Yeah. Don't
well,
try to save anything.
Right. And it's, I mean, this is the car that Brandon sold me, so the wiring really hasn't been changed since it was Brandon's car. So yeah, there's probably something like that. So we'll go through it and make sure.
Simmer down back there.
Hey man, I'm telling you, I watched your guys' main, and something that really impressed me was old Robbie Norris came back for a race night, and he drug his bumper on the fence of 3 and 4, I think, every lap.
I thought the last 5 laps there, I thought Robbie was going to have something to show for the leaders there. I really did. He was hauling.
Yeah, I talked to Robbie, and I mean that's his forte. If the high side is there, that man is all the way on the top side, and nobody else has quite figured out how to get their cars to run so high. We can run pretty high in 3 and 4, but Robbie finds the extreme high side, and he's always so fast.
He was almost on the wall most of that race, but there was definitely one time through 3 and 4 that he dragged that bumper along that wall.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, man, he was entering 3 almost backwards.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I got a good time out of watching that.
That takes a sack.
Yeah,
sure.
Sack of what?
Well, I don't know. Mine come out of my pants every once in a while. I step on them mid-race. You know, I've done that a time or two.
It also takes being 18 and just, you know, having that attitude of I'm fine, I'm invincible.
Yeah, to quote Tony Stewart, he ain't busted his ass yet.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, they had a big race out at Marshalltown.
Oh, the Harvest Hustle at Marshalltown was a 2-day show. They had 234 cars signed in. The first night was double heat races based off passing points for Saturday, and then they had the last chance qualifiers on Saturday before their race day. Difference with that was Friday was a night race, and Saturday they started at 3:30, so it was a day race at Marshalltown. I'll just run over the results here. Trip Gaylord, the 77T, recently moved from Colorado over to Iowa this year. Been running Marshalltown pretty consistently. He picked up the win over Zach Vanderbeek. Zach Vanderbeek has the Vanderbilt Motorsports chassis and was running USMTS there for a good while. The 33Z, he ran second. Cody Laney, Torrance, California's Cody Laney in the 5L ran third. Big name running fourth, Tom Berry Jr. Everybody knows TBJ in the IMCA modified world. And Dallin Murdy, the game changer, rounded out the top 5. Dallin Murdy's the kid that we talked about at Super Nationals. He pretty much top 5 in the modified and the stock cars, so shout out to him. Well, that brings us to the stock cars, but guess who? The game changer, Dallin Murdy, picked up the stock car win in his Terminator chassis. Jimmy Gustin, Marshalltown hero, the jammer. Jimmy Gustin ran second. Jeff Mueller ran third. Thor Anderson ran fourth. And Jim Horsey out of Marshall, Minnesota ran fifth. Sport mods. Brayton Carter, the 01 car, always fast at Marshalltown, damn near impossible to beat. He won the deal. Tyler Nayrud out of Dorchester, Nebraska, runs second. Logan Anderson, he runs the Herbie the Love Bug 53 car, run third. Tyler Bannister out of Bakersfield, California, run fourth. And Zach Davis out of Lonsdale, Minnesota, rounded out the top 5 there. Hobby stocks, Adam Wasserman, the 41 car. Kind of a surprise win out of Fairbury, Nebraska over Nathan Ballard. The 29N Nathan Ballard has pretty much been on a tear this year in the hobby stocks. John Watson ran third. Solomon Bennett ran fourth. And Dylan Nelson rounded out the top 5. And then, what they have? The IMCA Mod Lights. Dylan Rafferty, Kansas City, Missouri. The thing about this kid is the last, 5 years they've been IMCA sanctioned for the Mod Lights. He won the first 4 IMCA Super Nationals in a row for the Mod Lights. He's been their national champion I think every year that they've been sanctioned. So no surprise there that he won. Randy Bryan was second, John Padilla was third, Tanner Gannon was fourth, and Austin Gray was fifth. So a lot of cars to round out the season at Marshalltown. Over 200 cars in the pits anywhere is always a good day, and a 2-day show at that. So to keep the numbers high for both days is pretty dang good.
Nice. John, you want to tell us about Chase Johnson, the latest on him?
So Chase Johnson is still at the recovery center there in the Spinal Injury Center in Georgia, and he had a visitor here a few days ago. Let me share that. Share screen. We're not experts. Here we go. So that's Chase Johnson there in Dason Pursley. Dason Pursley is a graduate from that center, so he went out. He had another sprint car crash, left him almost paralyzed, but went to the same spinal recovery center that Chase is in, and you can see he recovered fine. Chase is doing well. They shared many pictures of him with a lot of his friends that have come out just to say hi, keep his spirits up. He's still got a long road ahead of him, but it's going in the right direction as of this moment.
Well, and I was at Chili Bowl 2 years ago when we had a surprise appearance from Dason Pursley. Walked into the Spirit Center, which was just a shock to everybody in the building, because we were talking about, how bad his injuries were, and that, he was partially paralyzed, and, he has made a full recovery, and not only is he back in a race car, he's back and fast in a race car. And I hope we have that same conversation about Chase. I think he's a classy act, and I really hope he gets everything he needs and can get back in a race car and be competitive again.
Yeah, me too.
So this next one's kind of fun. I don't know where this came from. I picked it up off the interwebs, and it's a list of the top 10 money earners for 2025 in a winged sprint car. So this goes across both World Outlaws and High Limit. So number 1 is David Gravel, $664,000. Number 2, Rico Abreu at $568,000.
Yeah, buddy.
Number 3, Carson Macedo at $543,000. Number 4, Corey Day at $485,000. Number 5, Brad Sweet, $445,000. Number 6, Brad Sweet's brother-in-law, Kyle Larson, $434,000. Number 7 was Buddy Kofoid at $424,000. Number 8, Tyler Courtney, $418,000. Number 9 was Sheldon Haudenschild, $380,000. And then number 10 is Anthony Macri with $362,000. Now, this is just purses. This doesn't have anything to do with championship money or points funds or anything else that's going to pay off at the end of the year. I would like to point out probably the big winner out of that list is Rico Abreu, because he owns his own car. So,
how much money do you think it costs to get one of those sprint cars down the road all season?
That depends. Do you pay a driver or do you drive it yourself?
Yeah, Dirt Tracker had a great podcast about that. They ran through the costs of it, and I think a full season in a sprint car costs somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3 million for a full season. And that's, doing engine freshen ups, tires, chassis repairs, wing replacements, fuel, entry fees, all that stuff. I know most drivers.
Speaking of my boy Abreu,
And that also covers.
I don't know if you guys saw, he's doing a
rooms,
raffle where you get to
insurance,
come
and all
spend a
that
weekend
stuff.
with him out at his vineyard on his page.
Yeah, I saw that today. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm saving the money. I'm putting pennies together. I'm gonna get in on that. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. So yeah, if it costs you $3 million to run a sprint car for the year, and you won $500,000, you're $2.5 million in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's where the
I'm just glad
sponsors
Kyle-
come in, huh?
Well, one would
Yeah.
hope.
I'm just glad Kyle Larson made some money, because he doesn't have enough from his other stuff.
Yeah, most driver
It's hard
deals
to
they'll
make
get
money
25 to 50% of the
That's what
purse.
they say.
Yeah, most drivers will get 25 to 50% of the purse, depending on what deal they negotiate. I would be willing to guess that Kyle Larson gives a lot more of that purse to Paul Silva to keep that team up front like it is. But that's just a guess. I don't have any inside info.
Yeah.
So this next one, we're going to stir something up with this, because Hoosier Tire issued a statement, and I'm going to read it real quick. If I can see it. It sucks getting old, man. The eyes are terrible. At Hoosier Racing Tire, we believe in doing our part to ensure the shared love of motorsports sparks passion, pride, and success. It has become apparent in recent months, however, that sometimes that passion crosses into unacceptable behavior. While we recognize the deep commitment racers have for their craft, we condemn any use of verbal or physical aggression within our sport towards our employees or others. We are committed to partnering with racers globally to remedy concerns, issues, or questions related to the Hoosier Racing Tire family and openly accept feedback. Our at-track tire representatives welcome calm and collected conversations during race events as it pertains to Hoosier products. Further feedback can also be provided by contacting our customer service team at info@hoosiertire.com. We encourage respectful conversation within our sport as we constantly strive to ensure the best racing experience for all. I have an opinion on this, but I'm going to wait until you guys give yours, because I want to see what you guys see if you're in line with what I have to say.
Ooh, can I go? Ooh.
Absolutely.
So mine's twofold. So one, make a good fucking product and you don't have to worry about your reps getting smacked in the face. Second, if there was competition in the sport and everyone didn't have to be forced to run your tire, you'd be forced to make a better tire. It's nothing new. Hoosier's made a crap tire for a long time because they have no competition.
That's it.
So they can put out whatever they want, and not saying they're not trying to put a good product out, but they're not forced to put a good product. If you have the choice between A or B, you're going to go to the better tire. If you have to run A, you're going to run A no matter what. Whether it delaminates, whether you burn it off in 10 laps, doesn't matter. We need competition in the sport. These sanctioning bodies need to stop taking the money put in their pocket and make a better product by giving competition in the sport. Off my soapbox. Next.
I just think for a while here, Hoosier Tire has gotten cheaper in their manufacturing and cost more money to the end user, which is the drivers, because you could tell. I mean, the tires seem like they just have a bunch of plastic in them compared to what they used to have. Really, when the tires would last a modified guy 2 or 3 nights, whereas now they're, like you said, coming apart in 10 laps. But the price steadily goes up, and your product becomes worse and worse.
Thomas?
Maybe part of
Modified boys.
part of the reason why people are using up Hoosiers once every race is because drivers have gotten so good to the point to where they know how to get every ounce of rubber out of that tire in a feature, whether it's a 30-lap feature or a 100-lap feature. They know how to use every bit of that tire no matter what.
There's been a lot of times that I haven't been able to getting 2 races out of a set of tires is a long shot. They just don't work the same the next time, and I don't know who to blame on that. Is it me? Is it them? The tires don't seem to be as good as they used to be, and I haven't even been doing this long.
So, John, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, I agree with the, put out, if you're forced to put out a better product, you have to, not requiring sanctioning bodies to use that one tire.
So my opinion is probably a little bit nuanced and might be ambiguous. So let me try to put it out there. Fuck you, Hoosier. Put out a better product. These are your customers. Listen to them.
Well,
I don't know if that was clear enough.
I don't understand.
Yeah. Let me be clear. These are your customers, and you should be listening to them. $350 for a right rear on a sprint car, and it won't go 30 laps. Kiss my ass. Build a better tire.
There you go.
Well, there you
Any
have
questions?
it, folks. So what can Hoosier Tire do?
Well,
Lick my
here's a
teeth.
question that I don't know the answer to. Who else is a reputable tire manufacturer out there currently running dirt track?
American
And
Racer.
one way for
American Racer's about it. I would love to see back in the old days with sprint cars where Goodyear and Hoosier would show up at the same track, and you could pick between the two. And let me tell you what, that was a tire war, and they were competing with each other directly, and they made a big deal about who won that feature. What they were running. That's what the purple neckbands started with. Was when a guy would win on a Hoosier, they'd make sure that was on there on victory lane just to poke a finger right in the eye of Goodyear. They did that on purpose.
Well,
like
is American Racer big enough
No, not even close.
to compete?
No, not even close.
There's-
And I don't think they really have that great.
I'm going to say this off cuff, so I don't know for sure, but I believe USRA is strictly American Racer. I think USRA or UMP. I don't remember one of those two because I see the tires all the time. They're strictly they run American Racer. Vice the Hoosier.
USRA.
Is it USRA?
Well, I'm vehemently against a sanctioning body saying you have to run X product. Because it cuts down competition. And I think if you would allow competition within your series, you're going to get more competition between those suppliers, which is going to be better racing on the track, a better product for the fans. It's a win-win-win for everybody, except the tire companies, because they're going to have to spend some money.
I will say this though: that 100,000 to win stock car show, the XR series, they usually allow both tires to run the series, and what's crazy is usually 90-ish% the Hoosier tire comes out on top compared to the American Racer, even though they're shitty tires.
Well, and I'll give you a little bit of inside baseball. If you don't know this already, if a track requires a certain tire, they get a kickback from a tire manufacturer. I'm not going to name names, but they get a little money back, and I'm sure sanctioning bodies get. Yeah, you said it. I'm sure sanctioning bodies get a kickback by requiring everybody to run their tire. competition's good, and not only is competition good with multiple cars on the track, multiple tires on the track, would be better for the competition too. And like I said, Hoosier can lick my taint. That's just a bullshit call.
Specifically out here in California, the Lightning Sprint Series, they run both Hoosiers and American racers. I see them both at the track. And I will say that I think the American racers, when I've gone to a car and I'll grab the right rear and I'll push on it, the American racers are a softer tire from what I've felt. So, your shorter races are probably a better grippier tire, but your longer races, you're going to want a firmer tire.
Well, that's called setup and driving style.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway,
I'm
if
all
anyone
for
has
it.
any,
Bring in more people.
If anybody has any questions about my stance on Hoosier Tire, be sure to post it in the comments on this video. I'll be happy to answer them all individually.
Or do you agree?
Yeah.
Agree, disagree, comment. Shit, we need them. Helps the algorithm.
Yeah.
I feel like the responses to your questions are going to be just copy and paste, lick my Tate Hoosier.
And if y'all can't tell, Hoosier doesn't pay us nothing.
No, you know what? Even if they were, I'd still call them out.
I don't know. I pay Hoosier a lot of money.
True.
Yeah, you pay them. They don't pay you.
Sponsored by.
All right. Well, now that I've got us canceled on YouTube, Bridger, why don't you go ahead and put our socials out there?
Put our socials out so they can ask the questions. So we got Dirty Sliders on Facebook, at Dirty Sliders, at Dirty.Sliders, on Instagram, and Dirty_Sliders on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call that. So yeah, hit us up with questions, comments, anything you want us to talk about, anything you don't want us to talk about, so we'll talk about it more.
Yeah,
Speaking
like, comments. Go ahead, Brandon.
I said, speaking of that, I forgot one. Double flip at Marshalltown, the hobby stocks. Anybody see that with Brandon Bombardo and Bradley
it was
Graham?
synchronized flipping.
That was wild.
Simultaneous, and one of them was in car. That was pretty wild.
He almost made it through that whole entire shit show there, but not quite.
Anybody got the clip of his audio after the flip? Because he did make an apology statement on that deal.
Here, right. You want to see the video? I got it pulled up right now. Hang on.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Send it. Shoot it.
Screen. Marshalltown. There we go.
Share.
Hang on, that's not it. It's this one.
Cute.
Is it
You're
sharing?
close.
Okay.
Yeah, you're sharing, but it's
see
a
what
secret.
you're looking at.
Okay, you see
Careful,
cars?
don't hit that
There you
tab
go.
next to it.
That's the right internet
What is
screen.
it? DirtyGrandmas.com.
What are you looking at on Reddit? Is that gay porn again, or what's the deal here?
Shut up.
Something about
That's
marshmallows
what you watch.
in the
Here
rear.
it is again. You know,
I thought you had this pulled up.
Hotmicrowave.com.
Speaking of hot microwaves,
You know what?
Timothy
you guys.
Timothy Spencer came over to me. He said, I went up and asked Soper about this microwave business, but he wouldn't give me the reasoning. So me and Bridger broke it down for him on why
I had to tell him
Soper's the
that.
microwave, and he was pretty impressed with what Soper was doing while the microwave was running.
All right, so I forgot to
He
mention this
was.
earlier. I don't remember
Which-
which video it was, and I have tried to go back probably a dozen times and find it. But on one of, I don't know if it's 70X or if it's Mike's video or somebody else's video from out there at Barona, but the heat race or the main event, I don't remember what it was. I'm getting ready to go racing, and Dirt Dude says, Thomas the Microwave Soper. So you guys can piss all the way off.
Yep. He got a high five this week, too. He got a high five from me yesterday.
We talked to him
He's like, I got a
pre-race.
couple of them in there.
We talked to Dirt Dude pre-race, and we said, "Dude, you like our show? You gotta help us out." And he's like, "I got you." So I'm
Yep.
glad he got us with Thomas, the old microwave soaper there.
Yes, sir.
You guys,
It is
it's
stuck
over.
now. It's
Let it fall
official.
into a shot glass
was
full of
good.
semen and guzzle the whole goddamn thing.
Damn.
Take that
And
mic out of
there's
your
the
mouth.
cancel.
Sounds like you're slurping on
I
some
know,
gooch over there.
right?
Yeah, in the
Okay,
mortal
here,
words
you guys
of
wanna
George
stay
Bush,
over
mission
race car
accomplished.
Mission.
I think you made it.
Okay,
man.
here's some
Alright.
race car
Or
stuff.
what?
Yeah.
There we
Yes,
go.
I was
There we
watching.
go.
I was
We're on
sharing the wrong
TikTok
thing.
now.
Okay, we're on TikTok now. Here we go.
That's
Little
blue
loose
So
car,
Bradley
man.
Graham's there in the red car,
Whoa.
Brandon Bombardo's in the blue and yellow car, and shit
Nice.
show ensued here.
Oh,
Brandon Bombardo has the in-car camera. I don't think we got that clip, but
I couldn't find that. I was looking for it, but I couldn't get it.
it was on Facebook.
Choo.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the blue car got the worst of that
Man,
one.
I
He
guess I
got a
didn't even
couple
know
extra
the other
rolls
guy
in.
went rolling over too.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was double. It was synchronized.
Bradley Graham and Brandon Bombardo. Bombardo pretty much said that his car is toast.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
All right,
Usually
with
what
that, we
happens
bring this to a
when that
close.
kind of thing
Like,
happens-
comment, subscribe. Like, comment, surprise. Like, comment, subscribe.
Surprise.
Surprise. Yeah.
Ring the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell. If you like us, hit the like button. If you don't like us, hit the dislike button twice. Make sure it gets on there. If anyone from Hoosier wants to reach out to me, it's dirtysliders7@gmail.com. If you want to come on this show, come on, defend yourself, but be ready to bring the heat. So,
We'll give you
Good
ample
show,
time to
gentlemen.
talk. We won't interrupt you too much.
I'll listen, but then I'm going to tell you my piece too.
Shout out to all the
absolutely.
champions at Barona Speedway to end out the season.
And around the country.
Yeah.
Every
And around
conversation
the
needs
country
to be
as dirt
two-way.
track racing's winding down.
All right, gentlemen. Good night.
Thank you guys for having me on.
See ya.
All right.